Well, it happens to a lot of us, especially as we age, noticing something on our skin that maybe really wasn't there before.
Most of us don't want to take the time or spend the money to get it checked out, but our next guest is making that easy.
Yeah, welcome from Nebraska Cancer Specialists, Dr. Ralph Hauke. Good morning, doctor. Thanks for coming in today.
Good morning.
Today we're focusing on melanoma. I think a lot of people have a pretty good idea what melanoma is, but would you break it down for us?
Sure. Melanoma is one of several different types of skin cancers, but it's by far probably the most dangerous one. It tends to spread much more aggressively than the others, and it's the leading cause of death of skin cancers.
And who's most at risk for melanoma, and how do people get it, let's say?
So theoretically, we're all at risk for melanoma, but certainly there are some folks that are at higher risk. So people who are fair-skinned, exposure to the sun is a big thing. There's a lot of different combinations. You can either have a real bad sunburn at a young age, or chronic exposure to ultraviolet A and B, both, including sunlight, tanning beds, and so forth.
Yeah, so it seems like the biggest factor is the sun. Is that's the biggest factor? I guess what can we do? Obviously, there's things you could do. You can use sunscreen, but to prevent this, what should we be doing?
So there's a few things. The first is I really want to drive home the message to parents. So a lot of the problems are young kids getting bad sunburns at a young age. That right away increases their risk for melanoma later in life. So parents really have a responsibility to make sure that their kids are protected from the sun. Try to avoid in the summer, months to be out in the high noon time. Sunblock 15 and above. Wear long sleeve shirts. UV protection clothing is available now. And certainly as we're adults, same thing. Big issue from our standpoint is there's a lot of prevalence. I'm not banging the tanning bed industry, but the tanning bed exposure is a big thing with the teenage. We see a big spike of melanoma in young women related to that. So.
And what do we need to look out for? I mean, you brought an image in, right? That kind of shows the A, B, C, D's, and E's of melanoma and what to look out for. And here we have this on the screen right here. Can you walk us through these steps here?
Sure. This is a simple algorithm for people to try and observe it. We recommend everybody to look at their, examine themselves. But basically, if you have a mole that is asymmetric, that means that it's not. It's, as you can see there, it's very irregular. It's not like if you cut it down the middle, it's not the same on both sides. The border, if it's an irregular border, it's more likely to be malignant than if it's a smooth round borders. Change in color. Typically benign moles tend to be fairly homogeneous in color. If you've got a mole that has different types of colors, that's a warning sign. The diameter. The smaller it is, the more likely it is benign. Typically, most melanomas, when they're diagnosed, are about the size of a pencil eraser or larger. So anything that's bigger, you want to get that checked out. And then the other thing that was added a few years ago was evolution. So if you have a mole that changes over time, so it becomes bigger, the color changes, it's bleeding and it wasn't bleeding before, those are all things that you should at least have that checked out by your primary care physician or dermatologist. Does
texture fit in there somewhere? And sometimes there's scaly things that you have on your skin.
Yeah, to some extent that would be what I would consider part of the evolution. If you notice that it was smooth and over time it's becoming a little bit rougher and more nodular, that would be something to look at. There's a lot of benign moles that are kind of scaly, but if you notice a change to that extent, I would say be best to get it checked out.
Yes, we definitely want to be aware. Let's talk about the importance of early detection.
Absolutely. So early detection is paramount. It's something that, it's preventable, but at early detection, it's the best chance to cure it. Melanomas, once the deeper they get, the more likely they are to spread to other places. Once it gets to stage 4, we have a lot of new treatments that are improving things, but most people aren't cured once it spreads somewhere else. So trying to catch it early.
Well, treatments you mentioned, there's some advancements. How far have things come?
I mean, compared to 5-6 years ago, it's been a big change.
Even that short a period of time.
Right, yeah. We've had a whole new wave of particularly the immunotherapy agents, what we call, that drugs that help stimulate your immune system to fight cancer better. We've got also a whole class of drugs that target 50% of skin melanomas have a mutation, and there's drugs that target that. Great responses. Again, it's not a cure, but at least we're being able to help people survive longer, and hopefully more treatments will be coming along the way.
You're helping people in the community this weekend as well. You have a free skin cancer screening on May 5th from 9:30 a.m. to noon. And who should come to this?
Anybody's welcome to come. We encourage anybody who if you have a mole that you've been wondering about, that's fine. Just come. If you just need skin exam. You know, if you've had, you know, if you're somebody that gets a lot of sun exposure and you're concerned and you want to make changes but get a baseline screening, that's a perfect time.
NebraskaCancer.com is a website. Do people need to register for this seminar?
Right, preferably. If you go on on the Facebook, there's a way you can actually set a time. I mean, you're welcome to come, but it helps us to organize things a little bit better. We've got a lot of dermatology practices that are coming in to help volunteer their time for that.
Great.
So,
Nebraska Cancer Specialists, NebraskaCancer.com. As we head into what should be the warmer months,
right.
It's a great reminder about this, Doctor. Thanks for coming in today. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Well, and